Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Just couldn't get it going. Couldn't emotionally get it going. Couldn't physically get it going. Our kids tried really hard. I mean, we played really hard. Their hearts were in it. Their heads were in it. We were prepared, and we just couldn't get it going.
We put ourselves game after game after game in place to win. And those last 4 minutes of a game is always an adventure. Disappointed with the loss. Proud of the guys in the locker room.
So, somebody please explain to me again why these postseason basketball tournaments are good. They're good for the fans and they're good for the television audience, but they ain't worth a damn if you're the number one seed and you lose in the quarterfinals to a team that you beat twice in the regular season. And we've seen that twice here today at the Big South Tournament. The two losers beat the teams they lost to twice in the regular season, then lose to them in the tournament. That's the wacky world of March Madness, and it's nothing crazier than the Big South Tournament here at the HTC Center at Coastal Carolina, where the number one seed, Charleston Southern, went down, and Winthrop, the number 5 seed, advances with a win over number 4 seed Radford. From the HTC Center in Conway at Coastal Carolina, Kevin McCrary saw a great game last night at USC. He and the pro and the state man are back at our studios in Columbia. So, sure, all are just these basketball tournaments, knowing that a season's worth of work in a league that only gets one team in the NCAA tournament is wasted in 2 hours.
Yeah, I have thought that for many, many years, but it's not going to change. The conferences, they could all decide to do this beforehand and say, look, we're going to give our bid to the regular season champ and go from there, and then maybe give the tournament champion an NIT bid if you want. I don't know. I would be all for changing it. I know Barkley Radeball right now would probably be on board with that, but you know what? If they were the number 8 seed and they got hot and won the Big South tournament, he would be all about putting it together. But I don't know why 4 days should trump 18 games.
Well, I tell you what,
4 months should trump 4 days.
Well, I mean, I grew up during the era of the heyday of the ACC when it was even crazier then because you only got one bid in a league that great, and a lot of teams could have been in the tournament and won it. But, hey, you got to win. I mean, that's one of the things I asked Barkley Radeball about, because when they won that dramatic game in triple overtime, sometimes your team is drained after a game like that. I can recall South Carolina in '97 beating Kentucky on senior day, and they went in the SEC tournament, and you could tell they weren't the same team. Sometimes you get drained, and you come into the second season, and you're not ready for it.
This thing is not detecting the camera. It's detecting the camera. I see y'all, but you can't see me, can you? Let me reboot the computer. Yeah. Yeah, I've got that. Obviously, a very busy day in the sports world here in Conway. We've had 2 games played. We've had 2 upsets. The higher-seeded teams winning. Longwood knocking off Charleston Southern 68-60. Longwood has beaten Presbyterian. Now they have beaten Charleston Southern to get to the semifinals tomorrow. This is a team that ended up winning, I think it was 9 games in the regular season, only 6 in the Big South, lost twice to Charleston Southern in the regular season, but it was a 1-point game there at Longwood. And K-Mac, if you can tell me where Longwood is located, I'll buy you a Big Mac.
It's in Virginia. I don't know where, but it's in Virginia.
He's looking it up. Don't look it up on Google.
I'm not looking it up.
Don't look it up on Google. It's in Farmville. It's in Farmville. You
Go
never
answer
got
it for
it.
me.
Farmville, Virginia.
No, I don't.
I said in Virginia. I needed an actual.
Well, I give you more.
Virginia is
I
where
give
it's
you more
located.
than that. It used to be an all-girls school, till they went co-ed. I don't know when. And a guy that just passed away, an old NBA favorite forward, Jerome Kersey, went to Longwood.
Longwood.
Well, there
Great
you go.
name.
So it's appropriate that Longwood and Winthrop meet in the semifinals tomorrow. 2 former all-female institutions taking over here at the Big South. Going back to their first game, Longwood did a great job on the outstanding 3-point shooting guard for point guard for Charleston Southern, Solon Nimley. Came in averaging 21 a game, ended up with 13, only had 3 3-pointers out of many shots. Didn't have a good percentage shooting threes. And so they win it. And Charleston Southern will now have to settle for the NIT. But some interesting stuff from Barkley Radebaugh when we hear from him coming up a little bit later on as he kind of puts everything in perspective. And then Winthrop beat Radford 67-66. It was not a last-second thing or anything like that. They had a 6-7 point lead down the stretch. Radford hit 3 threes in the final minute, and but Winthrop responded with free throws to offset that to some degree. So Radford, the number 4 seed, had beaten Winthrop twice in the regular season. Eagles turning around today. They are 18-12, and they were 12-6 in the league, and now they move on to play against Longwood. And that is 7 straight wins for Winthrop over Radford in the Big South tournament. And high scorer Keon Moore, very good player, 6 of 14 from the floor, 6 of 8 from the line. He had 21 points. Andre Smith, little guard, had 18 points to lead Winthrop. So you got to like Winthrop's chances, guys, to get to the championship on Sunday afternoon. Longwood will be playing its 3rd game. Now, they did have a break. They played Tuesday, had Wednesday, Thursday off, and then played again today. Or did they play Wednesday? They had a break after that first game. And so it's not like they'll be playing their 3rd game in 3 days, as we have seen some teams try to do. But you do have to Winthrop. Winthrop beat Longwood twice in the regular season. So we'll see how that holds up and plays out tomorrow. We've got 2 more games to come here tonight. We've got High Point and Gardner Webb about to tip it off here at 6. It should be. They're underway already, I believe. I'm not inside the arena. They may have already tipped off or getting close to tipping off. And then we've got Asheville and Coastal Carolina to round things off later on tonight. All right, that's the story here. K-Mac, USC women played out in Arkansas, and They won. Wasn't particularly pretty, I guess, based on the score. And also USC and Arkansas men last night. You were there for that. Talk about that. The Clemson baseball
it's
team
always
opens up
pretty
ACC
when the
play
USC
with a
women
win.
play. There's a lot of pretty faces on Dawn Staley's squad, and it was a block party, Corn, against
So there
Arkansas.
you go. You're being a feminist there, K-Mac.
Being
and,
a feminist?
I'm not. It's not
Okay.
about.
No,
It's not about the It's not about the feminine look or the figure or the beauty. When it's about basketball,
there's a lot of
it's
pretty
about
faces out there.
hardcore, making the shots,
They do.
playing defense, getting the loose balls, et cetera,
I'm going
et
to
cetera.
tell you what happened. They set a school record for 15 block shots. That's pretty fun to watch. They were rejecting everything. It was a tough day for the Razorbacks facing the Gamecocks, 58-36, and the Gamecocks will play at 5 o'clock tomorrow against LSU.
And LSU upset Texas A&M today. They got a big lead early and rolled out the because A&M is a great defensive team, but LSU seemed to solve them today and upset them. I thought the key to South Carolina's game is you could tell what Arkansas was trying to do. They were getting a little bit chippy, getting physical, trying to get into kids' heads, and South Carolina would have had none of it. They just said, okay, fine, we'll get up off the floor and then still beat you, and they wouldn't get into a stare down that Arkansas wanted.
Good news to pass along for Taj Boyd. He was on the show with us a couple of weeks ago and said he was keeping his NFL dream alive, and that dream alive and well today, a one-year contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He talked with the Steelers yesterday during Clemson's Pro Day, flew out to Pittsburgh, passed a physical, didn't have to work out, and they signed him to a one-year deal. They're going to let him compete for a roster spot here in the preseason coming up this summer. And, Corn, your boy Jim Boeheim got slapped down by the NCAA today. 9-game ACC suspension for Boeheim next year. The Orange already imposed a postseason ban for this season. An NCAA investigation confirmed multiple violations that date back all the way to 2001, include improper benefits, improper access for boosters, academic issues, and more. The school is also vacating over 100 wins because of infractions. So that sets Boeheim back on his quest to get to 1,000 victories. He was within 35 or so, but now he's going to drop all the way back to 6th on the all-time wins list.
What'll happen is when he retires, they'll do like they did with Joe Paterno and reinstate the wins. Watch what I tell you. Oh, by the way, while they were doing that, Corn, they decided to take the vacuum cleaner over to the football program. And even though they're not winning, they were also slapped with violations, 5-year probation. And during the era when they only were 11 and 34, they have to vacate a few of those 11 wins they had. So they wiped out the football and the basketball program.
That's what happens when the NCAA comes a knocking. They start turning over all sorts of stones. But a lot of these were
that's what happens when. What they say is when he gets mad at Notre Dame or they get mad at like North Carolina, they go and put Fresno State on probation.
But everybody gets on John Calipari. They all want to say John Calipari is the sleazeball. Meanwhile, Roy Williams and Jim Boeheim, who are two of the most respected guys in college basketball, everybody loves those two. Oh, Roy, and Jim Boeheim, everybody loves these guys, but everybody wants to slam Calipari. What's the difference? What's the difference?
Tell me about Clemson baseball.
6-4, Clemson. A great day for Matthew Crownover.
He's good.
Limited the Wolfpack to 2 hits over 7 innings. So he did his job. Now, the Clemson bullpen tried to give up the ghost in the bottom of the 8th inning when NC State put up a 3 spot, but by that time Clemson was up 6-1, so the final is 6-4 in Raleigh. Big game for Clemson to bounce back after that Winthrop loss and get that first win in the ACC, and now they get greedy and try to go for the sweep.
Yeah, 5 of Clemson's runs today coming with 2 outs on 3 wild pitches. How about that? Stephen Duggar scored from second base on a wild pitch. And Chase Pender's run-scoring single to up the Tigers' lead to 6-0 in that game. Pro mentioned Crownover, who is now 3-0. I gave up just 2 hits, 1 run, and 3 walks, along with 7 strikeouts. He has spectacular for the Tigers. Now 1-0 in ACC play with their season opening victory in the conference at NC State. They'll play at 3 o'clock tomorrow against the Wolfpack.
All right. Well, you know what? I guess having that shrink in the dugout is working wonders for the Tiger baseball team. They've beaten South Carolina series. Now they've 1-0 in ACC play. We'll see where it goes from here. We'll be back in a moment. Okay, we're back at you from the Big South Tournament here at the HTC Center on the campus of Coastal Carolina. Beautiful basketball facility that they have here at Coastal Carolina. And again, if you're just joining us, Winthrop takes down Radford 67-66, and Charleston Southern goes down at the hands of Longwood 68-60. USC women have won and advanced at the SEC tournament. Clemson baseball team has won today. USC baseball is on for tonight against Miami of Ohio over at Carolina Stadium. And K-Mac, you watched a really good basketball game last night at the CLA, USC losing to Arkansas. I mean, how would you sum up, first of all, how they rallied from 20 down and then somehow managed to lose, what was it, like a 9 or 10-point lead in the last 4 or 5 minutes?
They had an 11-point lead with just 7 minutes to play. They scored their last bucket with 4 minutes and 14 seconds left, and they only scored 1 point the rest of the way from there, and Arkansas came back and won it. Yeah, the Razorbacks were up 20 with 6 minutes left in the first half, but the Gamecocks went on a 10-0 run. They'd cut it to an 11-point game at the half, picked up where they left off after the break, built that working margin that I talked about, that 11-point lead, but they ran out of gas in a lot of ways. Tyrone Johnson, his final game at Colonial Life Arena, went down with cramps with 2.5 minutes left. Before that, he missed 2 free throws, and he had missed the front end of a one-on-one prior to that. So he missed 3 crucial free throws, and you wonder if he just was running out of juice. He had lost his legs, and because he went down in a hump or a heap, I guess, shortly after that, and didn't return to the game. It's really summed up their season. Corn, you were in Nashville when they had the big lead against Vanderbilt. You know, they've had some leads against teams in the last 5 minutes, Auburn, Ole Miss, and weren't able to finish those games off and close. And Frank Martin looked very distraught as I've seen him. He wasn't angry. He just looked like a guy that just been through the ring.
Well, it was great theater, Corn. If you watched it, I know I was watching it on TV, and you could see the training staff had Ty Johnson over there like he was in the corner, and it was the 10th round. And they were trying to get him out for the last round in a heavyweight fight. They were massaging his legs, whatever, but his legs were as tight as a drum. He could not move on the sideline. And let's face it, when he went out, they scored a total of 1 point in the last 2.5 minutes.
Tough loss for South Carolina. Now that locks them into the Wednesday play-in round in Nashville. Have they locked in their opponent yet, or will have to wait and see what happens
It looks like Missouri.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I think some things might have to happen, but it looks like it's probably going to be Missouri at this stage. Maybe an outside shot of Auburn. I was looking at it last night trying to kind of hammer that out, but I think it's going to be Missouri.
Okay. Well, that's a winnable game for the Gamecocks. They're good enough to go out there and win a couple of games again. I mean, all the close losses they've had, and they've played some people well. But finishing games has just been a major problem for them. Yeah. All right, High Point, the number 2 seed here, up on Gardner-Webb, 5:45 to play in the first half, is 27-19, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk here on a Friday night. Very, very busy show. You might just want to kick back and relax and just listen to us wherever you are headed around the state of South Carolina tonight. We've got some good stuff to come your way. Lee Klein in our next hour. Monty Dutton in our next hour. And right now, coverage from the quarterfinals of the Big South. We'll also have comments from the USC women from their win today over Arkansas at the SEC tournament. A little recruiting coming up for you as well. So right now, here at the Big South Tournament at Coastal Carolina, 32-25, High Point leading Gardner-Webb, 2:27 to play in the half. First game of this day saw the number 1 seed, Buccaneers of Charleston Southern, go down to Longwood, 68-60. And they just didn't look good from the get-go. The three-pointer that they normally get from Nimley wasn't there. He was only 2 of 10 from three-point land, had 13 points. Harper led the way for Charleston Southern with 17. But the big man for Longwood was their big man, Shaq Johnson, 22 points and 15 rebounds. Barkley Radebaugh certainly was hopeful of winning this tournament and getting to the NCAA tournament, but they just couldn't get it rolling today.
Just couldn't get it going. Couldn't emotionally get it going. Couldn't physically get it going. Our kids tried really hard. I mean, we played really hard, and their hearts were in it. Their heads were in it. We were prepared, and we just couldn't. We couldn't get it going. I thought we had a chance to cut it to 3 there at half, and went the opposite direction. And then we fouled a 3-point shooter. Instead of gaining some momentum and cutting it to 3 at half, we're dealing with a 9-point deficit. So, but our guys played really hard. I mean, I'm so proud of them for the effort. It's very difficult to ask them to do what we asked them to do today. And we're looking forward to getting to compete again. They get to compete again. So, really proud of our team. And proud of the effort today, maybe not proud of the execution today, and we missed a lot of shots. But, man, we got holes in our tights, we got bruises, we got blood in the lot. I mean, we gave a great effort, and we played really hard. They won the regular season championship 2 years ago for the first time in 27 years. They won 70 games in 4 years. They've played in 3 championship games. He's going to the postseason, the national tournament, for the second time in his 4-year career. He needs to be applauded. He's represented the Big South and Charleston Southern in the way that Charleston Southern and the Big South wants student athletes to represent them. And so has Sa, and so has Cedric, and so has Paul, and our other senior Will. The fact that they've done that at Charleston Southern is borderline amazing. It's amazing what they've done, and that they need to be applauded and celebrated for their accomplishments. And to play in the NIT this year, when the Big South is the best it's ever been, these 2 guys and our other team, the rest of our team, won the regular season championship in triple overtime. The fact that they're not playing in the NCAA tournament, okay. But when you look back at what they've done, and you look across the country, and name for me the teams that have won the regular season championship 2 out of the last 3 years, it's a very short list. It's a really short list. We want to be known for a team that competes for the regular season championship every year. We want to be known for a team that has a chance to advance to postseason play. We also want to be known for a team that handles ourselves with great class when we win, and great class when we lose. We want to be known for that also. And I'm so proud of the way that our guys handled themselves in great wins by complimenting the other team, and also the way they handled themselves in tough losses. The fact that there's high expectations for this tournament, we're where you need to be. You're exactly where you need to be. The fact that it's a shock that you lost, I can remember years, if you look back in the history of Charleston Southern, I can look at a lot of years where it's not a shock when Charleston Southern goes out in the first round. They just established themselves as elite players and a really good mid-major basketball team. And I told him, here's what I told him. I said, we lost at Gardner-Webb. What are the chances that we would win the regular season when we lost at Gardner-Webb? Do you realize what had to happen? What had to happen for us to have a chance to beat High Point? Coastal, Radford, and Winthrop had to lose for us to have a chance. What are the chances of that happening? So then we go in and play a really great team and win a regular season championship in an amazing environment in triple overtime. What are the chances of that happening? Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And we thank God for the opportunity to coach these guys and for what they've done. And it's our goal to go represent the Big South in the NIT in a first-class way. We've never won a postseason game. We've never won a game in a national tournament. What an opportunity we're going to have. And that's what I told them.
Barkley Radebaugh, minutes after his team's loss today, taking the high road, trying to stay upbeat, though you know it's eating at him deep inside to have a team that's a good team for this league to win the number one seed, share the regular season crown, get the number one seed through a very tough league, only to come up short and play maybe one of their worst games of the year when it matters most here at the tournament. Now, following that game, Winthrop went out and got it done. This was a close game throughout. Little 5-0 run with about 4 minutes to go gave the Eagles a 7-point lead, and they were able to withstand a late barrage of threes by Radford with some free throws, and they win it 67-66, and their very fine player, Keon Moore, led the way with 21 points. Here's Coach Pat Kelsey.
You know, we beat a very, very, very good opponent today. Unbelievably talented team. Mike's a tremendous coach, and he has a system that really plays to the parts that he has, and it makes you lose sleep at night preparing for it. The last two times we played these guys, we call it sort of binge scoring. They're unbelievably explosive, and there's always that point in the game where they just throw a haymaker. And the two times they've thrown haymakers at our place and at their place, that was sort of curtains. It was sort of it. And although they came down, you know, they came down to the stretch, especially at that place. Those were sort of their binge came at the very, very end at their place. And when they threw their haymaker today, and I think we went down 4-5. I don't remember what it was. We came out of that timeout and answered it, and that's because of the toughness and the wherewithal within our team and our leadership to do that. You know, they made big time plays and got big time stops down the stretch, and I think just answering that bell was to me the key to the game. They make you play on the attack, and they know one of the strengths of our team is our ability to shoot the ball at the free throw line. They make catches tough. They go chin on shoulder and deny, and they sort of leave the floor open, especially against us, to dare us to drive the ball to make plays. And you know, might not be the strength of our team, but we knew you have to take what the defense gives you, and I think playing on the attack usually means you're going to manufacture shots at the free throw line. And when they mattered most, we stepped up and made them and sort of sealed the game. Their confidence is just through the roof right now, and I don't know if I should say this because I compete against him for players and in recruiting, but if you're a parent and you have a son, he has the opportunity to play for Jason G, do it all day long and thank me later. He's a mentor to me. He's a faith mentor. He's a professional mentor. He's a personal mentor. He's one of the finest people I know on planet Earth, and he's a phenomenal coach.
All right, that's Pat Kelsey. Obviously, high praise for the Longwood coach. Trying to beat him for the third time this year tomorrow, and if he does so, going to have his team sitting in the championship game, which will be at 12:30 here at Coastal Carolina. Would be kind of cool for a Coastal Carolina Winthrop championship game. Kind of old style Big South when those two used to play regularly for the championship. And we're back in a moment. Now, Gardner-Webb finished with a 13-2 run. High Point turned it over 4 times, and then the number 2 seed is on the ropes at the half, 34-32. High Point leading Gardner-Webb. K-Mac, just stop the madness, will you? Just
Stop it.
Just stop the madness.
Stop it all.
That's why we like it, because
Now,
it's maddening.
Yeah. Now, last night at the CLA, boy, it looked like for a while the Gamecocks were going to get a really big, nice win, maybe put them in position if they got another win or two down the road to get in the NIT, but K-Mac, they just could not hang on.
Yeah, I mean, and it last night would have ensured they were a 500 team at the end of the regular season. It would have given them 6 wins in the SEC, the most since Frank Martin took over, the most since Darren Horn's very first year. It would have been very big, but it wasn't to be, and it was the same old story for Frank Martin, close but no cigar.
Story of our season. I mean, our kids practice well. I knew we were going to play well today. They fight. They don't back down. But we put ourselves game after game after game in a place to win. And those last 4 minutes of a game is always an adventure. And disappointed with the loss. Proud of the guys in the locker room. It's frustrating.
When Ty was up there, the thesis of what he's saying, he gave it his all. Can you just talk about the effort he gave today for your team?
Yeah, Ty, it's he's our lone senior, and we've pushed him to act like a senior and play like a senior. But if you look at reality, he's a sophomore. His freshman year in Villanova, he played the whole year with a broken foot. So, it's hard to be as good as you can be when you got a broken foot, but you keep playing. His sophomore year, played an exhibition game and then decided he needed to transfer. Came here, sat out, and then breaks his foot the year he becomes eligible here. So from an experience standpoint, he's played 2 years of college basketball, one with a broken foot, but real proud of him. Somebody gives their body to a point of exhaustion the way he did today. You got to respect that, and he finished his home career like a champ, and it's disappointing we didn't get him a win, but he finished it like a champ, and I'm real proud of him.
Frank, were you at all hamstrung offensively in the final minutes with Ty out of the game?
Marcus Stroman's practiced three times in the last 4 weeks. Tried his tail off. Didn't play well early in the game, but we kept going to him, and he. Part of the reason we came back in the game and took a lead was his play. We had 3 minutes, or I don't remember what time it was on the clock when he went out with the cramps. He's been playing. Ty's been really, really engaged. Could it have helped us? Probably.
All right, Frank Martin, following the loss last night to Arkansas, K-Mac, you were there. He seemed to take that one about as hard as I'm trying to think of that loss at home that they had, where they had the nice lead and lost it late. But this one he seems to really have taken pretty hard, because it was, I'm sure, one he thought that they had under control there and just needed to hold on.
I mean, he knew Arkansas, they're a good team. They were going to make a run, but they just didn't have the answer, and they were worn down, and they just haven't been able to catch a break. And I think it was just kind of the culmination of everything that's happened this season, where they've had so many games. I mean, they've had 5 games that were right there, that were in the balance, and they didn't go their way. Half of them, they lost those games, and they just can't quite get over the hump. I'll say this, I know Gamecock fans are frustrated. I've been saying this, and at the risk of sounding like a Frank Martin apologist, which I don't pretend to be, but I am an observer of the program and have been for a while, and I think they are very close to getting over the hump and winning those games. They have a lot more talent now than they had 3 years ago. It's not even close. They haven't been able to catch a break. They still need more talent, but they aren't that far away from taking that next step, winning some of these games, and getting into the postseason.
They remind you of the Arkansas football team that did everything to lose games in the first couple of years under the new regime, and then woke up, won a game, and then boom, it exploded all of a sudden.
Okay, back at the HTC Center at Coastal Carolina, we're at halftime, and High Point leading Gardner-Webb 34-32. Qualifying at Las Vegas will get underway about 7:50. Larson was the fastest in practice earlier today. Kyle Larson, the fastest in practice in the number 42 car, 191.646. Monty Dutton will join us in the next half hour. Let's give you the recruiting on this Friday night. Running back C.J. Freeman, Greensboro, late last night, got a call from Washington State with an offer. Very excited about that. He rushed for 2,000 yards, 28 touchdowns last season. Also has offers from USC, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, and Wake Forest. At one time had USC, Virginia Tech together at the top of the list. Right now, he does not have a single favorite, though he views USC, Virginia Tech, Auburn, West Virginia, and Washington State as the top five from the schools showing him the most interest. He was at USC's Junior Day in January. He'll be back for another Junior Day and spring practice on March 28th. And he says South Carolina Coach Sands showing a lot of interest in him and basically saying that he is a top priority for them at running back. He's also been to Virginia Tech, Duke, Wake, Auburn, and Georgia Tech. Plans to visit West Virginia and Vandy soon. Also will go out to Washington State. Joining him when he visits USC next will be his cousin, cornerback Simeon Gatling, who's from Greensboro, goes to a different school. And he's getting strong interest from the Gamecocks. He also has a Clemson offer. Clemson has several major offensive line prospects coming in for their Junior Day tomorrow. One who won't make it is Tyler Pritchett from Auburn, Alabama. He had an invite, but he said he's not going to be able to make it in. But he does really like Clemson, has a, as he put it, great relationship with Coach Caldwell, and he says they really want him there. He also has a USC offer, but he hasn't heard from the Gamecocks in several weeks. He did attend their junior day in January. Other offers include Mississippi State, North Carolina, Indiana, Cincinnati, Missouri, Louisville, Arizona, Florida, Syracuse, NC State, and several non-Power 5 conference teams. He's been talking the most recently with Clemson, NC State, North Carolina, and Syracuse, no favorite. Clemson has offered 2017 safety Isaiah Pryor. Tyler Tobias, defensive back from Potomac, Maryland, plans to visit Clemson tomorrow. Basketball, Frank Martin will have that in-home visit Sunday with the Seton Hall transfer guard Jaron Cena. And Clemson has offered Micah Potter. He's a 6'10 center from Mentor, Ohio. All right, there you go with recruiting. Check it out, of course, every day. Throughout the weekend, we'll update various and sundry individuals as they make visits. For example, visiting South Carolina today before his high school team plays in the girls 4A championship will be Javon Kinlaw, the defensive end from Goose Creek. And visiting USC earlier today was the big lineman from Virginia, Yarborough, who's on his way up to Clemson to visit the Tigers tomorrow. Top of the hour break. We'll be back.
As a team, have you ever been a part of anything crazy like that?
No, not really, not really. I mean, I've also haven't been a part of a team that has probably 5 girls the same height as me and above, so.
As a team, have you ever been a part of anything crazy like that?
No, not really, not really. I mean, I've also haven't been a part of a team that has probably 5 girls the same height as me and above, so really it was a lot of fun being out there with those girls.
AJ, is blocking shots kind of contagious? You know, you see Ella get 2 in the first, I think, 2 minutes of the game and saying, let me get out there and try to get some.
It is, and also if they just put it in your face, you just really don't have a choice but to kind of, and then we use our length very well, so it is a lot of fun, and it is contagious.
Is it really kind of shocking? Jessica Jackson didn't have 1 2-point field goal today. Just how did y'all lock down on her defensively?
We just kind of took the game that we played in the past and just kind of fed off of that. Coach would tell me, I'm going to see her 2 years, so I need to learn how to defend her. So really, we just kind of went out there, locked her up a little bit, didn't let her get in the groove of things, didn't let her get what she wanted, so it worked.
Is it surprising that she didn't hit one from inside?
Oh, yeah, that's very surprising. That really is. That really is, because when we came out, she came down and knocked down that 3, so that's very surprising.
Looking at it tomorrow, age, and obviously y'all know your opponent in a couple of hours, but right now, is there a pick that you would rather have, LSU or A&M? A&M's got height, but LSU's got a couple of real quick guards.
I'm not sure. They're both great teams. They really are. It should be a great matchup, but I really don't have a pick.
With that being said,
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back, Sports Talk, hour number 2 on this Friday night. Phil Kornbluth at the HTC Center at Coastal Carolina. Big South basketball tournament rolling on. Third game of the day. It's another dandy. We've already had 2 upsets. Will there be 3? High Point leading Gardner-Webb. That's a 2 seed against Gardner-Webb, and it's 41-40 with exactly 15 minutes to play in the second half. And High Point's in a bit of a drought, won for its last 7 at this point. So 2 of the higher seeds have already gone down to defeat today, and now Gardner-Webb, which is the number 7 seed, has the edge on High Point. Trails High Point by just a point with 15 minutes to play. No such trouble, however, for the number 1 seed USC women at the SEC tournament. They dispatch Arkansas today, and they do so in pretty solid fashion. Here is USC's star freshman, Aja Wilson, courtesy of GoGamecocks.com.
From
talks with reporters about the victory.
Really is, because when we came out, she came down not having been part of a team that has probably 5 girls the same height as me and above. So really, it was a lot of fun being out there with those girls.
AJ, is blocking shots kind of contagious? You know, you see Elle get 2 in the first, I think, 2 minutes of the game, and saying, "Let me get out there and try to get some."
It is, and also if they just put it in your face, you just really don't have a choice but to kind of. And then we use our length very well, so it is a lot of fun, and it is contagious.
Is it really kind of shocking? Jessica Jackson didn't have 1 2-point field goal today. Just how did y'all lock down on her defensively?
We just kind of took the game that we played in the past and just kind of put that. Coach would tell me, I'm going to see her 2 years, so I need to learn how to defend her. So really, we just kind of went out there, locked her up a little bit, didn't let her get in the groove of things, didn't let her get what she wanted. So hey, it worked.
Is it surprising that she didn't hit 1 from inside?
Oh yeah, that's very surprising. That really is. That really is, because when we came out, she came down, knocked down that 3. So that's very surprising.
Looking at it tomorrow, Age, and obviously y'all know your opponent in a couple of hours, but right now, is there a pick that you would rather have, LSU or A&M? A&M's got height, but LSU's got a couple of real quick guards.
I'm not sure. They're both great teams. They really are. It should be a great matchup, but I really don't have a pick.
Leading USC in scoring today with 12 points was Tiffany Mitchell. Elena Coates had 11 points off the bench. Aja Wilson had 8.7 rebounds. Elam Ebium had 7 points and 9 rebounds. And they just clamped down on Arkansas defensively, allowed 17 points in the first half, 19 in the second half, and they pick up their 28th win of the season, and they move on to play LSU tomorrow. What time is that game, guys?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, okay. It sounded like Asia there had a little bit of the sniffles or something. Did she sound a little bit hoarse to
Sorry,
you?
she's walking out in the snow.
Well, I mean, they've got that out there. You gotta guard against that, because it's part of March Madness is fighting off those viruses and those head colds. the madness, the craziness, it continues here at Coastal Carolina. 13:08 to go. The number 7 seed, Gardner-Webb, is leading the number 2 seed, High Point, 46-41. High Point has missed each of its last 9 shots, made only one of its last 11. Already the number 1 seed has gone down. The number 4 seed has gone down. Will the number 2 seed go down as well? It's all part of what I like to call, I coined this phrase a few years ago, March Madness. As we welcome in Lee Klein, our basketball insider, outsider, expert, former coach, director of 5-star basketball camps, contributor to Slam magazine. Had you heard that phrase before, March Madness, before I came up with it a couple of years ago?
I hope you're getting a quarter every time it's used.
Yeah, I wish I had coined that phrase. Yeah, that's right. I sure wouldn't be here working tonight. I'd be probably somewhere in the South Pacific enjoying myself. But what about this Big South tournament? I've been here all day, and the favorites just don't want to win.
Well, this is, for the small to mid-level conference, this is what it's all about. You want to start playing well, you get into the conference tournament, and anything can happen. And, dial up a little magic. And who knows, maybe things are shaping up for Cliff Ellis there at Coastal Carolina to make a run.
Oh, it's falling into place. But look, you were a former coach. There can be nothing, I would think, more frustrating and more disheartening than to have a great regular season, win your league, be the number 1 seed, face a team that you beat twice in the regular season, and then come out and play one of your worst games and get beat as Charleston Southern did today. That's got to drive a coach to drink and drink heavily, I would think.
If you're going to get knocked out, you want to get knocked out playing. If they beat you when you play a good game, you can live with that. But when you play just an awful game and you lose and your season ends that way, it just leaves such a bitter taste in your mouth. It's really hard to beat somebody multiple times because everyone's evaluated you. They know what you do. They take it away. It's really difficult to continually dominate a team, and that's probably what happened, with Charleston Southern on that given night.
Talking with Lee Klein here on Sports Talk, our basketball insider, outsider aficionado. Now, looking ahead to the big tournaments coming up next week, let's begin with the SEC and talk about, in your opinion, who is hanging in there with a chance to make the NCAA tournament. Who's got to make some major noise in Nashville next week? Somebody who's not already in but is close enough to kind of taste it if they can get a win or two next week.
Well, I think the pressure's on LSU and Texas A&M to win a couple of games and not leave early. I think that the other teams are in pretty good shape there, but LSU has faltered of late. A&M doesn't really have any signature victories on its plate, so you got to advance. You got to get to the semis of the SEC tournament. You certainly can't lose in the first round. That, to me, would be a disaster for those two programs.
How do you explain Tennessee going to LSU the other night? And here's LSU riding pretty high, 21 wins, Tennessee having a subpar average kind of year, and they go in there and win. How do you explain that?
At this point in the season, LSU's had some issues at home. I mean, they lost to Missouri, if I'm correct. South Carolina should have beat them. LSU's been really hard to predict all season long. Tennessee, at this point in the season, they're playing with house money. There's no pressure. Let's just go out and ruin somebody else's season. And sometimes when you play loose like that, you could accomplish things that you didn't know would be possible prior.
Do you think Georgia and LSU get into the big tournament?
I think Georgia's pretty, unless they collapse here at the end, I think LSU's more in than out. And I think, I think Georgia's more in and out. I think LSU just has to win one or two more games. One game, I think, this weekend, one in the tournament, and they'll be in. They're more in than out. But don't leave it to chance and end this season on a losing streak and expect to back into the NCAA tournament.
Talking with Lee Klein, let's turn our attention to the ACC. And obviously Virginia, Duke, Notre Dame, Louisville, North Carolina, they're in. Of course, Syracuse is out for other reasons. After that, who else from the ACC is going to sneak in there? NC State, Lenardi's had him has them as a 9 seed. Miami's record is comparable. Pittsburgh's too. Who else is going to sneak in from the ACC?
I think NC State has. They've got victories against Duke, Carolina, Louisville. It's hard to believe that they could be left out. They're going to. It'd really be hard to believe. I think, again, don't prove me wrong by losing the rest of the way. I think Miami's in. I think Miami, if you will, eliminated Pittsburgh. I think that was sort of an elimination game. Miami won it, and now they're right there. I think they're in position to as well to that large bid. And that's, by the way, pretty good coaching job when you're playing without your best player and you're winning those big games.
Yeah, absolutely. What did you think of the news that came down today about the penalties on Boeheim carrying over into next year? What did you think about that action? Proper? Too lenient? Too tough? How do you view it from what you know?
First thing is, shame on the NCAA to announce it now. This is when we should be talking about the Big South Conference, and we should be talking about who's going to win between South Carolina upstate and North Florida. To take away the little bit of shine that the small schools get by deciding to put this out there now was a terrible, terrible decision. As far as does the punishment fit the crime? I think it does, but you better, when it comes down to North Carolina, don't be hypocritical. You better punish one of the top 5 signature programs for their academic issues for a long period of time, the same way that you just stepped on Syracuse. Individual coaching wins, that part, suspension of games, not flattering. It'll taint Boeheim's legacy, but that doesn't really damage the program. The loss of scholarships after next year, that's definitely going to have some impact because you need all horse you can now in this ACC. That's going to have some impacts.
Lee, great stuff as always. We thank you so much for being with us. Enjoy what I like to call March Madness, and we'll catch up with you next week when the big boys, big tournaments will be underway, well underway by the time we get to Lee next week, and we should have some very interesting developments by that time next week. Lee Klein with us here on Sports Talk. Gardner-Webb, 8.5 to go. Gardner-Webb is up on High Point, 54-47. Is number 2 going to go down as well as number 1 did, as well as number 4 did? We'll find out shortly. Back in a moment.
right, Jack, good way to start ACC play.
Yeah, we did some good things today. I thought Crownie was really good on the mound. He battled again, and
Going to hear some comments from Clemson baseball coach Jack Leggett coming up in just a moment. Coastal Carolina won today in baseball. They hit 3 home runs in their game today as they beat Akron. We'll update some other baseball scores for you in just a little bit. In golf today, they continued with the World Golf Championship. Round number 2, J.B. Holmes, 73. He leads at 9 under. Ryan Moore is at 7 under. Adam Scott's at 6 under. Bubba Watson, Henrik Stenson are at 4 under. And Dustin Johnson's at 3 under after a 73. Sergio's at 2 under. Rory is at 1 under. Bill Haas, 73. He's plus 3. Phil Mickelson, 74. He's 4. All right. From the Clemson Insider, they were on hand today as Clemson opened ACC play with a win over NC State, 6-4, the final. Here's Jack saying they did some good things today.
yeah, we did some good things today. I thought Crownie was really good on the mound. He battled again, and at the very end of the game, Drew Moore was really good. He played good defense all day long. And then we just were opportunistic today. We didn't get, we had 6-7 hits. Got our runs when we needed to, run the bases really well, took advantage of the balls in the dirt, got some good reads. This shows you in this conference every run counts, and every opportunity you got during the course of a 9-inning ball game, you got to come back to help your haunch before it's all over.
You ever seen an inning where you scored that many runs on wild pitches?
No, I'm sure I have. I've been doing this a long time, but it's one of those things where I thought we got some good reads. And Duggar came around, got a great read from second base when they couldn't find the ball. The guy was just throwing a lot of breaking pitches, and we saw it coming. We saw the possibilities over to third base and second base, and when you're alert like that, our kids were alert, and it comes up, and we're ready for it.
Is there something you guys maybe do? I know the 7th inning seems to be Clemson's inning this year.
Seven's a good number.
This is a good number this year. Is there anything? Is it maybe getting in bullpens?
I can't really put my finger on it, but I think it's one of those things you just realize you got to play all 9 innings. If you don't play all 9, you end up losing. If you play all 9, you got a chance to win. The 7th inning, 6th inning, the middle of the game is a really important part of the ball game. And we just happened to load the bases up, got some opportunities on balls in the dirt, got some great reads, and Crownie came to the ballpark today to battle as he always does. And then Paul Campbell threw some good pitches, made 2 mistakes, but other than that, he's got a good future for us. And then Drew Moyer did what he had to do at the end of the ball game as a closer, and I like what he did for us. The 1, 2, 3 innings are tough to come by late in the ball game, but it was nice to see with a 2-run lead.
All right, Jack Leggett following the Tigers' 6-4 win over NC State. North Carolina beat Duke 8-1. Notre Dame beat Georgia Tech 3-2 in 10. Florida State 2-0 on Boston College. That's in the top of the 4th. In the Atlantic Sun, Upstate beat Valparaiso 8-7. In the Big South today, as I mentioned, Coastal 17-9 over Akron. Had one guy hit 3 home runs. Charleston Southern shuts out Penn State 2-0. How about this? The Longwood baseball team leads Georgia 7-1. A big day if you're a Longwood fan. Wofford in the 7th is leading Gardner-Webb 5-2. Back in a moment. All right, back with you on Sports Talk here at Coastal Carolina. 4:13 to go in the game, and Gardner-Webb still leading High Point 57-55. See if Gardner-Webb can hang on. They've gone 1 for their last 5, trying to pull off the upset of the number 2 seed High Point team. It is now time to welcome in Monty Dutton for the full Monty on NASCAR here on Sports Talk. Monty Dutton, you can read his stuff about NASCAR and other things of interest to him. You know, he's not just one of those guys that focuses on only one subject. He's
not a
very large mind and a very large repertoire. And you can read it all at MontyDutton.com. That's MonteDutton, MontyDutton.com. And he joins us now. First of all, I want to ask you about, you know, I think Jeff Gordon made a great point, and other drivers as well. Now, they've had this safer wall technology for a long time. I cannot believe that there's any point of any racetrack where there's not protection. Yet, in 2 races, we've had drivers find it. Are they going to fix that before something tragic happens?
Well, I think that something really bad has happened in the Kyle Busch. I think regardless of whether you love Kyle Busch or hate him, I think most people miss him being in the races because he's one of the most exciting guys out there. But I think that this is sort of an ongoing process. The bad thing about it is, and I really think that it's true of drivers and journalists and everyone else, is people don't ever say a thing until something bad happens. You know, like for instance, every time that somebody, they do that, everybody goes, what? They don't have soft walls everywhere? And then the next year, the same thing happens. And, you know, I mean, without question, everybody sort of tippy-toes around the subject because the real reason they've put it the places where they thought that impacts were most likely, but the reason that they haven't done it more and get right down to it is they don't want to spend money. And so when do they spend the money? When it makes them look bad, and that's what's going on now. So I'm hopeful that by this time, before too long, those things have to be custom built, which is why they're using like tire barriers in places now, because the angle of where it is, you have to have people who come in and know what they're talking about. But I'm just saying, of course there's no excuse, but it's also true that a great deal of money was spent on safety after Dale Earnhardt was killed, but not much of anything happened when Kenny Irwin and Adam Petty were killed the year before. So I'm afraid it takes terrible things before we wake up, and it's not just NASCAR, it's just human nature, I'm afraid.
I think you're right about that. On to Kyle Busch and the announcement this week up in Delaware that they're not going to prosecute him in the case against his ex-girlfriend.
Kurt Busch.
I'm sorry, Kurt Busch. I'm sorry, I get my Kurt and my Kyles mixed up sometimes.
Kurt suspended.
Yeah. Kurt broken heart, Kyle broken leg. But anyway, they don't pursue the charges against him. They say they lack the evidence. And NASCAR had already suspended him and put him in this program to, I don't know, do something with his brain. But since there are no charges against him and all that, I mean, did NASCAR jump the gun here in going ahead and suspended a guy that's not facing any charges, or how do you look at that?
Well, I think that this is, once again, I'm afraid that there's sort of a political aspect to it because it's become such a glaring issue throughout sports that I suppose that NASCAR didn't want to be seen as lacking after the public relations nightmare that the NFL went through last year. I'm just guessing because it is a fact that just a few years ago, the driver Travis Quapple was arrested with an incident with his wife, and NASCAR did not do anything about it. But times have changed, and is this not sort of in line also with what other sports have done too, as far as
suspending someone. I mean, like, even though there have been situations where the person has not been convicted, isn't there an appeal process after that, at which point you have to go through?
Sure.
I mean, I'm just saying that I think that there's no question that Kurt Busch was punished and more severe than he would have been just a year or two before. But I think just like everything else, it reflects the way our society is. People are not going to put up with that anymore. The Kurt Busch case certainly is one of the more colorful ones I've ever heard of.
Yeah, no question about that. Visiting with Monty Dutton, the full Monty on NASCAR. Let's get back on the track. They're at Las Vegas this weekend. Well, before we do that, let's flash back to Atlanta. Jimmy Johnson getting the wins. We've had 2 races, 2 different winners. We're going to have that kind of start where every week a different muscle team is going to have one of their drivers get to the front and win a race, and we'll have a bunch of different winners here to open up the campaign?
I guess so. It's hard to say. Johnson was so strong at the end last week. He could go off on a tear. I think as the season goes along, it always happens that at the start of the year, some teams are ahead of others and others catch up. I wouldn't be surprised to see Johnson win again, but I would also not be surprised at all to see another winner. I wouldn't be surprised to see Brad Keselowski score a win at Las Vegas, or Matt Kenseth, or Carl Edwards. I could see, he's he's a little trouble getting started, but he's with Gibbs Racing and Top Equipment. So, I could see Gordon winning. I think there's more likely to be a third different winner than there is of the first 2 to score. But, the other 2 have shown their strength, and I expect they'll be right there.
Kyle Larson in first practice, 191.
Said maybe.
Yeah, I understand. Because you can't predict what's going to happen. Kyle Larson, 191 plus in the early practice session. Are you hearing any other notes from the garage about any drivers or any teams doing anything in particular good?
Well, I've been watching on television, and I think it's sort of when you get into these intermediate tracks, of which they're running them back-to-back with Atlanta last week, I think that it's likely that for those kind of tracks, at least for a while, you'd round up the usual suspects as being the people. Let's face it, there's been 1 win so far for Logano, 1 win for Johnson, but the reigning champion, Harvick, is second in both races. So Harvick is 1 game behind in the loss column after 2 weeks.
Very, very much still in contention at this point. Yeah. Who do you like coming out of Vegas with the W?
I've sort of got a Brad Keselowski hunch going, because his teammate Logano won the Daytona 500 and Keselowski won more races. The 2 of them won 11 races last year, and I don't expect Keselowski's adversity to last for long.
Monty, as always, we appreciate your wisdom, your garage insight, and folks, you can read Monty's stuff at his blog, MontyDutton.com. That's spelled MontyDutton. He writes about more than NASCAR, other sports-related items and non-sports-related items, politics and social issues and the like. So you can read all about what Monty thinks on things at his site, his blog, MontyDutton.com. All right, we're getting down to it. 1:56 to play here. Boy, I'm sorry I've been not able to watch this game in person. It's being played out right behind me, and I can't see anything that's going on because of the big, thick walls. 61-60. Gardner-Webb leading High Point, 1:56 to go. Brown, the outstanding player from High Point, John Brown, who many believe has an NBA future, 23 points for him. He is the high scorer in the game. He also has 7 rebounds. He's 8 of 15 from the floor. High scorer for Gardner-Webb is Harold McBride with 21 points on the night thus far. We'll be back in a moment. All right, 1:02 to go. Gardner-Webb 63, High Point 61. This game remains very tight heading into the final minute. See what happens here coming up. If you want to jump on the program, we got a little time here at 800-956-7266. See if you have any comment about that you heard from us tonight or heard somewhere else that you want to talk about. Clemson football practice just wrapped up a little while ago. We will not have time to get the Dabo Swinney comments on the air to you, but we will have them up on our website a little bit later on, sportstalksc.com. Make sure you check it out. And, of course, over the weekend, coverage of the tournament here, coverage of Clemson, Notre Dame, USC, and Tennessee tomorrow, plus the baseball, USC, Miami of Ohio. Gamecocks out to a 2-0 lead as they play in the bottom of the third inning. Koch has a 2-run homer. Gamecocks, I do believe.
Yes.
So they're up 2-0. Clemson has already won today, 6-4 over NC State. And other baseball to tell you about today around the SEC. See if anybody's finished up. Texas A&M beat Nebraska 2-1. Mississippi State's losing to San Diego 2-0 in the 8th. We told you about Longwood leading Georgia 7-1 in the 8th. Tennessee 2-1 over Grand Canyon in the 4th. Missouri leads Milwaukee. Make that Milwaukee leads Missouri 6-3 in the 7th. Auburn beats Xavier 7-2, and Arkansas beats Loyola Marymount 2-1. Around the Southern Conference, Wofford leading Gardner-Webb 5-2 in the 8th. And Furman beat Marist today 7-3. And Elon pounding the Citadel. They're playing in the bottom of the 9th, 12-3 the score there. So you're up to date on the baseball. Now, as far as Clemson football goes today, as I mentioned, they just finished up with the Dabo Swinney, and it was their first day in pads. I'm just checking out some of the tweets coming from some of the reporters on the scene. Here's an update on Zach Brooks, Tiger running back, who's coming back from a foot injury, and he told reporters, good to be back on the field, and hard to accept that he was hurt all of last year, but he said he is back to full speed now. Tigers have a plethora of running backs. I mean, they can really hit you with 4 guys when you think about it. They can hit you with Gallman. They can hit you with Brooks. They can hit you with, who's the big guy? Choice. They can hit you with Choice. And who am I forgetting? I'm leaving out one.
Gallman, Choice. Who is the guy that was hurt?
Tyshawn Dye.
Tyshawn Dye, yeah.
Tyshawn Dye. Yeah, Gallman, Dye, Choice, Brooks, Davidson, C.J. Fuller. They're loaded in the backfield. Not going to be anything wrong with the Clemson offense this coming season. No question about that.
Whatever happened to those days when running backs needed 10 or 15 carries to get it going?
Yeah, they used to say they needed the rhythm and momentum.
Some backs run when they're tired. Others, they can go right in. I'm not so certain that even coaches look at that anymore, but I can see that some running backs are ineffective when you just throw them into the game and then you hand it off to them. Some of them need those carries.
Dabo told reporters, good to see the young guys in pads. He said Frew Morgan got drilled on one play, came right back on the next play. Said it was good to see what 15 freshmen looked like in full pads. This is from the Clemson Insider writing this. And he thought it was a good first practice in pads. We'll have the audio from Dabo up on the website for you as soon as it comes into us in just a little bit. You know, there are state championship basketball games this weekend. Right now, the 4A girls game is going on, and Spring Valley is leading Goose Creek 35-28 in the third quarter. So high school championship basketball action at the Colonial Life Arena this weekend. And, of course, the game you want to get to, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, is defending 1A girls champions, the mighty Vikingettes of Latta against Christ Church. in what should be just a real Donnybrook of a basketball game. 63-63 here, 31 seconds to go. Gardner-Webb and High Point all locked up. Asheville and Coastal Carolina still to come. Back in a moment. All right, we're going to overtime here at the HTC Center. Gardner-Webb High Point, 63-63. Boy, Gardner-Webb, they had chances, 63 all with 1:02 to play after John Brown hit a free throw, hit 2 free throws to tie it. So Gardner-Webb's got the basketball, and after a 30-second timeout, Jerome Hill missed a jumper. Gardner-Webb got the offensive rebound, and then Tyler Strange, with a second to go, missed a jumper. So they had 2 chances in the last 30 seconds, including one at the buzzer, to win and advance, and they come up empty. So 63-63 going to overtime. All right, Pro, tell everybody about, well, first of all, I'm going to say Newberry is still playing. Newberry Wolves, they have a tournament game in the South Atlantic Conference tomorrow, and they are going to be taking on Carson Newman. That's a 3-seed, Newberry against a 2-seed Carson Newman. They're going to play at Timmons Arena in Greenville at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Newberry's 20-9, Carson Newman 16-13. You can hear that game on our affiliate in Newberry, WKDK. And we have also the College of Charleston playing tonight, Pro.
Yeah, and they're being held up because Towson and Elon are going into overtime at the Colonial Athletic Association tournament in Baltimore, Maryland. Yes, College of Charleston just an atrocious season this year, 8-23, and they face Drexel tonight in the opening round of the CAA tournament in Baltimore. Scheduled at 8:30, probably 9 and 9:30 now that Towson and Elon are going into overtime there. Also in the Southern Conference, it's UNC Greensboro 77, Sanford 71. There's 2 minutes to go in that game at Asheville. Of course, the winner of this game takes on the number 1 seed Wofford tomorrow afternoon.
Mm-hmm. All right. Former USC punter Spencer Lanning re-signs with the Cleveland Browns today. He averaged over 44 yards per punt last season with the Browns. And just a reminder, you can catch Dabo Sweeney's comments on the website, sportstalksc.com, a little bit later on once that gets into us. K-Mac, any final thoughts from you as we head off into this March Madness
I
kind
know.
of weekend?
It's going to be a maddening weekend. What's going to happen? Hopefully you won't curse too many other of our in-state teams like you did the Bucks
Also,
earlier.
just wanted to mention later on tonight in Asheville, it's Furman and the Citadel. So at least another South Carolina team will advance in the Southern Conference tournament before the night is through.
Well, we talked to Barkley Radebaugh Monday. He loses. We talked to Mike Young Wednesday. They play tomorrow. If they lose, I think there might be something to the Sports Talk killer curse. Have a great weekend. We're going to do the same, watching basketball at the beach. We'll catch up with you back on Sports Talk Monday night. We'll see you then.